So in the tech industry and beyond, right, especially in Nigeria, to be successful in this industry, you have to like work twice hard. Even for people that are without disabilities, how have you been able to like remain successful in this industry and relevant? What have you been doing that we're not doing that we're not seeing? You have to tell us to do.
Okay, so when my eyesight really got bad,
Yeah.
I think that was the thing that changed my life.
How are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
All right, so I'm so excited to be here today. Like, I've been looking forward for this day. After the last time we met at the PyCon, I just like I have to interview this man. Your presentation that day was inspiring. Yes, it was really inspiring. I'm like, God, just let me just accept for me to go, even if anywhere in the country. I mean, I would have actually come just to have this conversation with you. Your story really inspired me, and thank you for granting me this opportunity. I appreciate.
Pleasure, man.
Your dad is a well-known Nollywood actor, Nigerian actor,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yes, a lecturer, a professor. Your mom was also a professor
yes.
for a very long time. I read an article that said that your dad was the first
Professor of music.
music in Africa.
Yes.
Yes, that's big. So how did this not influence your decision for a career? How is it that you still went ahead to do tech?
So you should think of it like how my father was back then.
Okay.
Everybody was going to study engineering. Everybody was going to study, different things, architecture, medicine.
Yeah.
And he was the only one that wanted to study music.
Music.
So
Yes.
I heard my grandma was not happy
Yeah.
that he wanted to study music, but
Wow.
he actually went ahead to do it.
Okay.
And he said he's a happy musician.
Yeah.
That if he had studied engineering, he would have been, he would have been a sad engineer. Probably a rich sad engineer. But he's happy being a musician. And so because nobody forced him to, choose the path he wanted to go through, all of us, my senior brother is an architect. Okay. I'm a computer IT professional tech, and my sister is into public communication. So nobody followed the music.
Yeah, you guys are all doing different things.
All doing different things. Yes.
Wow, that's nice. So did he at any point disagree with your decision of becoming an IT professional?
No, not at all. He knew that was the future, and he saw my interest in it from, because he had the computers when I was in like my second year in secondary school, JS2. And he saw that I was very intrigued in, playing games, back then, and trying to use a computer. So he saw the intrigue in it, and he wanted me to, pursue it. So he didn't mind it at all.
Wow. That's such a supportive father.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so from your age 6 to like 7, you already started noticing a challenge in your vision, right? How did this affect your growing up and relationship, or would I say your social life as a child?
As a child, so because it started off by me not seeing at night.
Yeah.
So I could see during the day fairly well, at least. So the disease, retinitis pigmentosa, affects your peripheral vision.
Okay.
Your peripheral vision. So mine was a bit narrowed. So, and I was tall.
Yeah.
Growing up. So when I was very clumsy, and people used to think because I was tall, but they didn't realize that it was because I was my peripheral vision was narrowed. So because of that, it really affected me.
Okay.
Even when playing football, I was a goalkeeper at one point.
Oh wow!
And my friends used to call me Ekuweme.
What does that mean?
Yeah, basket.
Oh, wow!
Because I used to allow the ball going, and it was really so I had to stop
playing football.
So I ended up playing basketball, but then after 6 or 7 o'clock, I'll run home because I couldn't play after that.
You have to be home.
I have to be home
before it's dark.
Before it's dark, you know. Other kids can go out and play, but I have to just play at home because I couldn't, you know, do stuff. Up until even university, you know, when you read and you go up and then you're trying to read, especially during exam periods and it's nighttime and all of that. Well, I'm just happy that my house was just not within campus.
Yeah.
So at least I could go home and stay. You know, so even that was also a problem.
Okay.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, so that brings us to a question right? You lived in the campus, you schooled in Unilag where your dad was a professor.
Yes.
Was your mom also a professor in Unilag?
Well, she did that up until she was an associate professor.
Okay.
Then she moved to Ekuweme University.
Okay.
Yes, at Ebonyi State. Yeah.
Okay, so
that's where she got her professorship.
Okay.
So she was an associate professor in
Unilag. So your mom and your dad were professors in Unilag at some point. Your mom was an associate professor.
Yes.
The both of them worked in Unilag where you schooled. Exactly, yes. So didn't this have any impact? Like, how was it for you?
Well, there were books all around my house.
Okay, I mean professors.
Yes, and plenty of exposure. You know, musical instruments.
Okay.
I could play the piano. I played the violin, and I could read music to an extent. Yeah, I joined my father's choir at one point. You know, so yeah, there were a lot of musical influence in the house. Okay. I also and they just exposed us to books, reading. And they love this wholesome education. So it wasn't an education of go and read, go and read. Yeah, go and play the basketball. You know, go and play the piano. You know, they knew that education will help the overall brain, basically, the mind.
Wow. So, yeah. Okay. So the first time you were diagnosed of retinitis pigmentosa, right? You were still in the university. How did this affect your studies? Did it in any way affect your studies?
So, you know, back then, when night blindness started at 6-7, I would go to some ophthalmologists. You know, at that time, I don't know whether they told me then or they told my mother then, but they were like, oh, I had lack of vitamin A.
Okay.
So they used to feed me a lot of vitamin A, things with red pigments in them and all of that. And I think my mom too had some kind of glaucoma. Okay. So they thought it was something related. Yeah. You know, but nobody came to tell me that this is retinitis pigmentosa. This is what it was. Until university, when I met this, he was a lecturer. Okay. And he invited me to come for a diagnosis in his house. Okay. So I went to his house and he said, oh, this is more like retinitis pigmentosa. And this was my first time, you know, hearing about it. I was like, okay. So at that time, it wasn't really known. This is like 2001, 2002 or so, 2001. So it didn't really, you know, they said, oh, give him high jolts of vitamin A. So those are the things that they gave to me, high jolts of vitamin A. And that's all. There's no cure, even till now. There's still no cure.
There's still no cure.
So that's all they could do, and just hopefully slow the progression of the regeneration.
All right. So, but
how do I feel?
No, like going forward in school, did it affect your grades in any way? Because I mean, I feel like did it get worse at uni, or you were still able to manage it at uni?
So I don't know the kind of mind I had, but what happened then was I had the mindset of I have to get good grades now because I don't know what will happen in the future. So I made sure I had to come out with a 2-1.
Wow.
You know?
In computer science.
In computer science, I had to make sure that I come out with a 2-1.
Wow.
So when everybody was going for parties, raves, and all those things, I'll be reading because I knew that I had to do to get these things, you know. And I would say that it did affect me in some part because I remember one time. Now this is later when I'm doing my masters in the UK. I had this exam paper, I know how some exams that they have A1, A1B,
Yeah.
1C, one,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
even in the UK, they do stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So on question 4, I saw A, B, C, D. I had seen the D, but you know when you want to shelve it and go somewhere else and come back to it, so I had it in my mind, but I forgot because you're trying to solve this other question. But then time is, I have like 30 minutes to the end of the exam, and I'm reading. I've finished the 1. I like the 1. I like the 2. I like the 3. Now I see A, B, C, and I couldn't see D at that point in time.
Okay.
I knew D was there before.
Yeah.
But now when I'm reading and looking at it, because of my narrowed vision, I now couldn't see the D again. It wasn't in my field of view. So I just did A, B, and C. And I went and I thought I passed. I got a B. But I knew that
if you had answered it,
would have given me
So in an interview, you said that if given an opportunity to change one thing in life, that would be your mom coming back to life. Right. I'm so sorry about that. May her soul rest in peace. So what was that one thing she did for you that you're like, no, I always want you in my corner?
It's good to have. To me, obviously, every mom is the best mom in the world, but she's the best mom in the world.
Yeah.
And when this whole thing started, from a spiritual perspective, she would take me to the churches. She would do anything and everything. If it was MFM, if it was Weibo, it was she would take me to different people to make sure I get prayed for, to make sure that the healing comes, that kind of thing. And even when, and another thing is that before she passed on, we both went to Turkey for for like what do you call it? Not a surgery, but a therapy on my eyes. It's electroacupuncture.
Okay.
Right, and we stayed there for 6 weeks. So she made sure she traveled with me.
Yeah.
We stayed there for 6 weeks in a land that we've never traveled to. It was in Turkey, Istanbul.
Okay.
Right, and then 2 months after that, when she passed away.
Yeah.
So that's going that extra mile for me was really significant.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, so at what point did you start coding?
Oh.
Yeah.
In 1997, when I finished secondary school, and I did a diploma in data processing.
Okay.
It was a post secondary school education.
Okay.
So it was for 1 year, I think for 9 months, yes, for 12 months.
Okay.
And they taught us things like BASIC, Fortran, COBOL, all those languages.
Olden days
languages, Pascal.
Yeah.
So those were the periods where I actually started programming.
Wow.
And that's when I fell in love with the whole thing. I now realize that there was more to things than just navigating through the computer and then playing games and all of that. So I was really intrigued on how, oh wow, so you can do this with the computer, you can do that. Okay. And that was really what.
That was way back to
1997. So I finished secondary school in 1996.
Okay.
I jammed me for some like 2 years. I stayed at home, but not keeping myself idle. Okay. I did that diploma in data processing. And I did an advanced diploma, but I didn't finish that because I now finally got my admission into university.
Wow. So that's about 27 years thereabouts.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, well, 1998 is when I got my admission. So that's 26 years.
Yeah. So some of us were just about few years. Meaning we were not able to meet all those programming languages that you started with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in the tech industry and beyond, right, especially in Nigeria, to be successful in this industry, you have to like work twice hard. Even for people that are without disabilities, how have you been able to like remain successful in this industry and relevant? What have you been doing that we're not doing, that we're not seeing? You have to tell us to do.
Okay, so when my eyesight really got bad,
Yeah.
I think that was the thing that changed my life.
Okay.
Um, and it made me more focused in the sense that, when you see, there's always so many distractions. YouTube,
Yeah.
Instagram, all these tools are good,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a way of making you procrastinate your
Sure.
what is at hand, your goals, what you have to do. And it all starts with the mind. So for me, when when this whole thing started and I really got, the thing really got to a point whereby I could see very little. I could not see the screen. I needed the aid of a screen reader.
Yeah.
I just realized that, you know what, I need to change. Something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going into motivational speakers, they taught me stuff. And one particular guy that hit me was Jim Rohn.
Okay.
So Jim Rohn was like, if you want things to change, you have to change. Right? He also said, what brings you more money in the marketplace is value.
Yeah.
It's your value. It's like, okay, I have to change and I need to get me out so that I can have better value, not only for myself, but for people around me. Also, he also talked about one key ingredient. It's one thing to begin and to start, but to put yourself through.
Yes.
Now takes discipline.
Sure.
And that discipline is really what, put me through in where I am today.
Yeah.
What do I mean? Let me elaborate a little bit. I have yearly goals.
Okay.
Right? I break them out into quarters. So if I'm going to do, let's put a number, 10,000 press-ups.
Okay.
Okay. If I break it down, that's 10,000 press-ups in a year. Okay. So if I want to break it down into a week, and I'm doing it 4 times a week,
yeah,
that's like 400 press-ups in a week. Trust me, I know that.
Wow, you have done it.
I have done it, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I've not been doing well.
Yeah, even though.
So 400 press-ups in a week.
Yeah.
That's what is it? That's so in a month you're going to do something like 5,000 of 400 times 5. That's 2,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2,000 press-ups. In 3 months, you're going to do like 6,000 press-ups. In a year, you're going to do like 12,000 press-ups. Okay? So that's the goal, right? 12,000 press-ups.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you break it down. So that's 12,000 press-ups in a year. Break it down into 3 months. That's 4,000 press-ups in a quarter.
In a quarter.
Yeah. And from there, you can now break it down to the month, and then from the month to the week, and then to the days you want it. Mm-hmm. Now, there's something that I also learned from Jim Rohn, and that is marking off your day. He made something in the Bible when he said, and it's in Genesis, when God created the world in 6 days, he rested on the 7th day. God said, he looked back at the day and said it was good. Okay, do we look back at our days to see how good we did that day? Okay, the 400 press-ups you said you are going to do in that week, did you do it? Right? And so I do that. So if I'm reading a book, I want to read 12 books in a month, in a year, right? That's 3 books per quarter, and that's 4 books per quarter, and then that's what do you call it? Right? Yeah, 3 books, 4 books in a month. Yeah, sorry, it's on the map. Yeah, exactly. So there are 4 quarters. That's 3 books per quarter. Yeah, so that's 1 book per month, exactly. So now 1 book per month. So now, if you say you want to read this book per month, how many pages are there in this month? Let's say there are 200 pages. Divided by 30 days in the month, right? 200 pages, right? That's 60 something pages per what do you call it?
Week.
Per week, yeah. or per day, sorry.
Per day.
So you can do 60 something pages per day, or you can go by chapters. If this book has 10 chapters, okay, you want to finish it in the month. Okay, try and see how much you can read within that month, right? So that you can finish the book within that month, right? At the end of the day, look at the month, okay. You can spend 1 hour and look at the month and say, okay, how did I read this book this month? Then you check it off, you read the book.
Yeah.
At the end of the week, you look at all the activities you set for that week, you check it off. Right? I've been doing this since 2018.
Wow.
Right? So then at the end of the month, you look at what you've done for the month. You can check off that thing for the month.
Wow.
So on a Sunday like this, I can say, okay, let me see what I've done for the week and check it off. At the end of the month, I can look at what I've said for the whole month, like let's say the last day or 2 days, and say and check, okay, I've done this, I'm good. And then at the end of the quarter, you can use like 3 or 4 days. At the end of the year, you can use the last week of the year to see how well you did for the year. And then the first week of the year, use that for preparing for the next.
Wow.
I know it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot because, to be sincere, I don't know if I can cope with that. I mean,
not many people can.
Yes.
So and that's how I read my IT books. So I obviously, to stay relevant, you always have to read.
Yeah.
You have to do courses. Yeah. You know, because with this whole thing of big data coming in, there's data science, data engineering, data analysis. You know, so you have to be in the whole data architecture, data management. You know, so many things, and then so many things happening. The explosion of, we thought IT exploded like 10 years ago. It's even exploding more. Not even started, exactly. So.
Wow. That's good. Yeah, so despite your sex condition, right, you have decided. I mean, this one I'm so passionate about this question because I don't understand. So you have gone ahead to earn yourself 2 masters. How? Why?
The backstory. All right. So, you know, my parents, as I said before, my parents were professors here. So my whole mind was, I have to do my PhD. I have to do my PhD, right? So I did my first master's in Nottingham University. Now my eyesight was okay. Even to my second master's, my eyesight was okay. It was until I came back. Yeah, it was until I came back. So it was okay until, so I did my first master's and I was okay with that. And you know, up until I think 2008 or 2007, I wanted to come back to Nigeria. But you know, so I wanted to do my PhD in AI, in artificial intelligence or machine learning. Mm-hmm. So the thing about it is I was trying to think, okay, what's the best way of doing this PhD? You know, I applied to several places, and I was not getting scholarships I wanted because I really wanted a scholarship. So I now thought that, okay, if I do this master's, it would give me a way through, you know, into the PhD and all of that. And so that's why I now had to apply, and I got it, and a lot of talking to my parents about why I want to do a second master's, you know, and you know, to God be the glory. You know, we came through from here, and I actually did the masters. But then, you know, at one point I felt, so after the masters, I felt it was now time for me to come home. You know, and I think that time my eyesight was now showing signs, because during my second masters I hit my eye, my right eye, on, you know, a wardrobe that was, you know, I'm tall, so there was a wardrobe that was, let's say, around 5 feet, and I didn't see it well because I knew my eyesight was now deteriorating. So I moved down and I hit the edge. So I that time I just said, okay, I think it's time to go home and all of that. Yeah.
So do you still want to do your doctorate?
Do I still want to? I think later on.
Yeah. So I know that. Okay, can you discuss with us some of the challenges that you face in the tech space? I mean, I don't want to say breaking when you're breaking through into tech, because you're doing this for a while. But after your eye situation, right? What are some challenges that you face? Maybe when you're about to get a job, or thing that is happening in the tech industry?
So I was working in a job actually in Nigeria, somewhere in VI, and it was, and I was earning quite well at that period, and I was an SAP consultant and all of that. But then from then, because my eyesight started getting worse, I went to work one day, realized I could not read from printed paper anymore. Everything was blurry. I was like, when did this start? And then I couldn't read.
That was the first time you did
that was the first time, yes.
And you at work?
And I was at work, yes. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know who to tell. Yeah. And then I also, could not read from the screen anymore as well. Especially, okay, so now they have all these accessibility kind of tools and guidelines, right, on how to create websites. Back then, you had people who could create green on yellow colors, different things. So when you're trying to view the website, it was, especially with my eye issues, it was now a problem to view the website. So I was like, what's going on here? And affected my job. As it affected my job, I could not do it as effective as possible. So I was forced to resign, and I resigned from there. And then that's when the depression kicked in.
Yeah.
And after the depression kicked in, my mom now passed away, as I said, because we were traveling all over, trying to, make sure that the eyesight comes back and all of that. But she unfortunately passed away. And then that's when I now made the decision that I will not allow this eyesight get to me, But then with that and with God's, presence, I got another job, and it was a startup. Now, at that point in time, it wasn't what the salary I was earning before. But if it's for me to get out of the house, I will get out of the house, So I now got out of the house. I started working, and I was with him for a bit like 7 years, And then from there, I now started applying for other jobs. And when you have these eyesight issues, it's always a very, very big problem. People always wonder, can you work? Yes, I can work. Yes. And also, they will ask me questions like, can you work? They will ask me, different questions. There was a time when I went for an interview. As I went for this interview, the guy asked, I actually put it, I'm visually impaired. So the guy now asked me, okay, I brought in someone with me who could read the screen for me. Yeah, because sometimes there's some screen readers that don't do well with those, they don't do well with those programming, those programming, those websites that you ask questions, that they will ask you questions for you to code, for all these tests that you do, programming tests, technical tests, exactly. They don't really do well with that, I don't know. So I needed somebody to just read the code for me, then I can, write read the question for me, then I can code what they want me to do. So the guy, there was a video, you said I should put my camera on. I put my camera on, and then the guy saw me and was like, why is this other person with me? I said, sorry, excuse me. I said, he's just here to read the questions out for me. He said, no, he cannot be here. But I said, I told you I could not, say I'm visually impaired. He said, I'm sorry, this guy cannot be here. I said, okay, please leave. You have to leave. And he now said, can I read the screen? I said, I cannot read the screen. He said, okay, start the exam. I started. I'll just
He could have read the screen for you then.
I said, okay, can you read the screen for me? Yeah. He said, no. I don't know. So he said, are you sure I cannot read the screen? I said, I am visually impaired. I cannot read the screen. And then he now said, okay, he just stopped the interview. And I just like, okay, what do I do now? So I went to meet an HR person. I said, see, I have a problem. I put visual impairment on my CV, right? I will not get called at all. If I remove it from my CV, I get called. But then during the interview, they see me. After the interview, I don't get called. So which one is it? What should I do? as an HR professional. So she just told me that the best thing is for me to remove it from my CV, which I always do. Right. So I removed it from my CV, and then when I get the interview, when they see me and they are okay with it, fine. If they are not okay with it, then I move on. And it's been like that for a very long time. There are so many times when I get rejected. There's a time that I even got an interview. I got there, once they saw me with my guide cane and all of that, obviously they couldn't send me away. They called me in, they asked me the questions, I answered all their questions. All of them, I answered all of it.
So like, you're very experienced.
I am.
Yes, you are.
So, but they didn't call me back, but I'm just happy that from that other place, I got into this where I'm currently working, and they were kind enough to allow me to work for them. So, and I've been working there for I think it's going to 3 years now.